Good morning, my people in the south. Good day, my friends in the eastern hemisphere. And my lovely people in the west, good afternoon. And people in the north, good evening. Back again. Today I'm double clicking on, I haven't been double clicking on sectors for quite some time. Today I'm double clicking on transportation sector, and I'm hoping at the end of this episode most of my fellow entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, upcoming and emerging entrepreneurs would have grasped as much as possible for them to go out and start innovating and coming up with brilliant ideas that will leave investors with no choice but to invest in those ideas. You don't need to be a scientist. You don't need to be to have some special brains for you to come up with an innovation. Just come up with an idea and get people who will work with you alongside your idea, with you, of course, being part of the team. And grow your idea, support your idea until it sees light of day. And that's it. So when I grew up, between, say, but I was already grown, I was 19, 20, 21, 22, maybe up to 25. I used to read a lot of Donald Trump's books. And one of the books that stood out was the book called Think Like a Billionaire from Donald Trump. This book sort of channeled my mind into the approach that I ought to have when I think of growing my business ideas. I'm not sure if that lands well, but this is the book which channeled me to clearly understand my approach towards thinking around growing my business ideas. In the book, Donald Trump mentions, this is Donald Trump way before, this is my apprentice, not my apprentice, rather the apprentice Donald Trump, not the US President Donald Trump. This is the Donald Trump before this era of being a president twice for the United States. Excuse me. So in the book, he mentions a guy called Aristotle Onassis. Aristotle Onassis was an entrepreneur in the olden days, one of the richest men in the world, and he was involved in the transportation sector. He was specifically or specializing in shipping business. Shipping business. He, if I'm not mistaken, if I still remember quite well, he owned ships. He owned container ships. He owned different types of ships. So he was involved in the shipping business generally, Aristotle Onassis. It's one of the richest guys in the world. That is one of the names that comes to mind every time I think of richest people that ever existed in the world. And I don't know him. I've never read much about him. I only learned about him through Donald Trump's book, I Think Like a Billionaire. And in today's contents of the episode, I want to touch base on several areas which have a good number of opportunities for entrepreneurs to innovate and come up with better ideas to further enhance and change the face of that particular subsector in the transportation, under the transportation sector. And firstly, I want us to look at the Emma Musk's RTA 97C. The Emma Musk RTA 97Cs are the shipping, container shipping ships, so to speak. The container ships, Emma Musk RTA 96C, it's those container ships that when you look at them from afar, from a distance, especially when you are at the coastal areas, you will find them in the middle of the ocean, and they will look like they're stationary. They look like they're not moving. They're just standing still. And those things are moving at very high knots, The speed of the ships is measured in knots. So they're moving at very high knots. And they're carrying, those things are carrying a lot of weight. They're carrying over 25,000 or over 250,000 kilograms of weight. They're carrying over 250,000 kilograms of weight. And they're moving at very high knots. Container ships. There are those ships that carries containers. It's a steel container, a size of this office, like a normal house room, and it's made of steel. So in the container, I think the containers are not equal in size. Some are longer, some are shorter. So in the containers, that's where they put goods that we're exporting or importing, whatever that could be. And then the containers are shipping those. The ships are shipping those containers. That's why they're called container ships. One ship, it's running with an engine the size of a 3-story building. One engine, the size of a 3-story engine. Right? And that engine requires about 250 tons a day to run. 250 tons a day to run in fuel. In diesel fuel. 250 tons of fuel a day in one day. So that presents a very good opportunity for us to look into that specific part of the entire process and come up with an innovation right there. We want to ship this weight, and for us to ship this weight, it costs us 250 tons a day in fuel to ship this weight. That is the space where we need to go in and innovate, Do some calculations and come up with ways and things that we can bring in and redesign and design new engines. Or if you did mechanical engineering, you can come up with other ways to compensate the amount of fuel they need to transport this weight. So I found that very, very much fertile for innovators to go in and start innovating, Another thing that I wanted to speak about, as I'm double clicking and drill downing on the drilling down on this transportation sector, it's the condition of our railways in South Africa. specifically. Our South African railway system is in shambles, and they have dilapidated in such a way that it gave sort of thieves an opportunity to steal the infrastructure. And we no longer have railways. The rail has been stolen. They actually cut the rail, loaded it on trucks, took it to scrapyards to weigh and get cash out of it. So wherever we had railways, now we just left with the concrete. There's nothing left on that concrete. So obviously a train won't slide on that concrete. But in a way, I found this very interesting for innovators to come up with other ways to resuscitate this entire railway system thing and bring back the railway system in a more innovative way. You know, I mean, we've replaced the purpose the railway was serving in the sector, which we had goods transportation trains which were loading all types of goods and commodities across the country. We've replaced them with trucks. So instead of having our roads, which were designed and built for LDVs, we are now having our roads, which are designed and built for LDVs to carry many more trucks. Not just trucks, but trucks which are loaded with different types of commodities. Things like chrome that we mine, we're now loading it on trucks and transport it in long distances. The platinum that we mine, the coal that we mine, and so on and so forth. We're now loading, we replace the train with the trucks. Now it has to be carried by tires instead of steel on concrete. Concrete, steel, this thing goes. And I found this very interesting for innovators to actually take advantage of, because we can actually convert all the trucks. Sometimes I'm crazy like that, and after this I'm gonna start animating everything, and that's how I come up with innovative solutions. I think I'm gonna sneeze. Let me just hold it. I think I'm gonna sneeze. Let me just hold it. Yeah. So I'm thinking we should actually take advantage of this, and I think I'm gonna sneeze. I don't want to sneeze because it's gonna disturb the entire thing. So I'm thinking we can actually replace the trucks by resuscitating the railways, so we can go in partnership with government to replace the railways for us. Then as entrepreneurs and innovators, we come up with a way to cut the trucks loading beans and convert them into locomotives. We put those trucks on the rail, basically, and then we get rid of the diesel engines. We'll see what we do with the diesel engines. The horse that pulls the two trailers, horse and trailer. So we do away with the horses. We are left with the trailers. We cut the trailers, we redesign it into a locomotive, we throw that thing on the rail. So our railway should be designed in such a way that it goes along all our mining areas. It collects whatever commodity that they're mining, and then they load on those trucks, but they're no longer trucks, they are locomotives. We've converted them into locomotives. I hope someone sees this and start to make sense of it. Do you know how much money that is going to save? in terms of maintenance, turn wear for the trucks, diesel costs on the trucks. I mean, one truck, I don't think the truck can take, I mean, the amount that they're loading, say it's coal, and coal is even a better example. Let's say chrome, because I know we're transporting chrome for about 700 kilometers on trucks. 700 kilometers with an old man behind the wheel of a truck, from Limpopo to KwaZulu Natal at the port in KwaZulu Natal, where they go and tipper the chrome and come back with an empty loading basis of the truck back to the mine. Doesn't make sense. So the diesel that you're spending driving back from the port where you delivered your chrome is going to be saved. So think about the number of trips that you're going to drive back with an empty truck, instead of having the truck converted into a loco, throwing it on the rail, and this truck will be loaded with whatever, then it goes. As it comes back, we load other commodities from that part of the country back to where the locomotive is driving to. So the problem with the truck is that they were designed and built for a specific load, that this thing is going to load, or contracted to load specific commodities, contracted with the mine to load the chrome. So with the locos, we can work with government to actually bring in different types of contracts, load whatever stock, because we have many warehouses down in the KwaZulu-Natal province of South Africa, and most of those warehouses still uses trucks. If you look at our national roads, especially or specifically N3 between KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng province of South Africa, the national road N3, it's filled with trucks. Those trucks are transporting goods from warehouses, they're transporting vehicles, they're transporting all these types of commodities and goods. So we convert all of that into the loads that should be returning with the locos that we converted, the trucks which were driving there with coal or with chrome and driving back empty. Then we're going to get rid of all of those trucks on our roads. Everything is going to go into a railway. This is how things were done in the previous days, in the previous years. But because now we already have other entrepreneurs operating in the transportation sector, you can't tell them to shut down their entire business or systems and do nothing. At least let's take the trucks, put them to work, continue with the contracts that they had. So you are creating employment, you are solving a specific pain for the truck owners or the trucking companies. You are at the same time reducing the high number of accidents on our roads as a result of having too many trucks on the road than LDVs. You are as well going to save maintenance costs to maintain the roads that these trucks are driving on. I can list so many things, That's what I was just thinking and running around with this thing in my mind. So I think we can maybe pilot that with maybe start small with we build a rail from, because we have a couple of smelting plants in South Africa, and then these smelting plants are mostly constructed in areas where you find a smelting plant. It's about 50, 100 to 500 kilometers away from the mine. So the product that they are actually smelting is being collected 500 kilometers away, and they smell, or let's say between 50 and 500 kilometers. That's where the trucks are doing ups and downs between the two sides to collect and deliver, so that the smelters can smelt. After smelting, the product is still being collected to refineries as well. So we can pilot that with the rail that we can build from one complex of mines to one complex of smelters, and then put that to test, and then we convert all the trucks. If it works, then remember this will work concurrently with the Department of Transport of the country. So if it works, then it gives us more opportunities to create these challenging, huge, the biggest problem that our government ever faced, of 62% plus youth unemployment. Then we build these rails. We have the rail routes already, but there's no rail on top of the routes. It's just concrete. Then we build them, we convert all the trucks. So we have all parties happy, and the government's going to save a lot of money, like I said earlier. So I think we can pilot with or between a mine and a smelter. We build the small rail, we convert 2 trucks, and then we build the locomotives, we build the trains, and then they transport the goods between the two. And then the moment it starts working and we see it's profitable and it works and it saves money and it creates a whole lot of other opportunities, then we roll that out towards the entire country. That's how I see things in the transportation sector. So we are sleeping on these things, and we can't always blame politicians, because politicians are politicians. Their job is to be political and do their work as politicians. We are out there as entrepreneurs and innovators with thoughts and minds and ideas that can assist these politicians and legislature to make decisions and change the bills and change the laws and build things that are going to enhance their government as well as politicians. So we need to work together with them. So we can't put them far away from us and think we can operate within this space alone. So we also need them. Let's not be afraid to approach them. Go straight to their office, knock on their door, and present this idea to them, and then see how it goes. But I promise you, something is going to come out of it. You see, I'm dishing out ideas, I'm dishing out. I know I can't do it alone, ladies and gentlemen, so let's help each other. Yeah, so one more opportunity that I've picked up from the actually it's 2 opportunities from the transportation sector that I'm thinking a lot of us as innovators, we are sleeping on. In South Africa, the taxi industry, it's huge. Think about how huge Uber is in the world, how huge the Uber business is in the world. Take that down to South Africa, and at the same magnitude, that's how big taxi industry is in this country, in South Africa. Taxi industry is the industry where the entrepreneurs in the taxi owning space in today's time and age, most of them, they own Toyota Quantums. Toyota Quantums is a 16-seater vehicle that it obviously seats about 16 people, and all our townships, our villages, everywhere we have those type of vehicles. When you wake up in the morning, that's our mode of the most reliable mode of transport. It's that mode of transport. The others are just add-ons. The biggest we have is the taxi industry. So that entire industry, that entire system, taxi system, ladies and gentlemen, is still using cash as a method of payment. They're still using cash. I've never, in these latest times of AI, in these latest times of technology, I sometimes go through the entire system. I go to the taxis, I take a taxi from one point to another, and so on. I've done Uber, I've done InDrive, I've done, what is this other one? The green one. Bolt, I've done Bolt. basically, I know how all of these type of transportation systems work in this country. But the taxi industry, it's still using cash. Uber is not using mostly cash. InDrive as well as Bolt, they are 50% cash, 50% whatever system. So EFT, whatever you call it. Our taxi industry in South Africa, it's still using cash. You get into the taxi, the driver expects to receive cash from the passengers at the back. You can't pass a bank card and say 4, because that's how we pay. Because every row has a seat that sits about 4 people. So it's about 4 rows. It's 4, 8, 12, 16. So, and 2 in the front. So it's actually 18 sometimes. Sometimes it's 4, 8, 12 plus 2 in the front. Then it's 14 plus the driver is 15, depending on the size and the type of taxi or vehicle they're using. And when we pay per seat. So all the 4 passengers on one seat will collect the monies, put it together, and then we pass it towards the driver in the front. Then the driver expects to receive 4, then he knows how much. 4, then he knows how much. Another 4, he knows how much. Then he gets his total. Then he's done. Then he continues the trip. That's how it works. There has never been another method. Since I was born, that's how we've been paying in the taxis. That's the method that only exists in the taxis. There is no any other. Ladies and gentlemen, innovators, entrepreneurs, please come in. Let's look into this and come up with ways. I want to open your eyes, I can't do this alone. I know this is huge, and the taxi industry is very challenging because you're working with guys who don't want to embrace change. I mean, they should have already started their own e-hailing system, but they still don't want to. Instead, they're buying small LDVs, and then the small vehicles, and then they registered them on Uber, on InDrive, on Bolt themselves, the taxi owners, instead of them sitting down and coming up with their own e-hailing system that is going to work like the e-hailing system that we have currently. So I'm talking about people who don't embrace change quite easily, who don't embrace change with both hands. If you go to their office and present a new payment system, they might tell you where to get off. They might tell you it's not going to work. They might tell you we don't want these things here. So let's come up with that innovation that is going to enable the taxi industry to make life easier for passengers to pay. I've seen buses, the bus system across the country. They have now adopted a new way of payment. You get in, you just put your card there, your bank card, then it goes beep, then the payment is off your bank account. That's it. So you introduce that to the taxi industry, you're gonna have issues because many people don't go to the taxis with bank cards. Some people are old, they don't even have bank account. So you need to come up with a way that is going to accommodate all of those type of passengers. I'm just putting it out there. I told you guys I'm going to start selling ideas, but I don't know how this could be done, but it's possible. It always looks impossible until it's done. So this is another gap where we need to look into and close. Lastly, the villages, ladies and gentlemen, our villages are struggling with transport. South Africa, this is one of the reasons why we are third world. Our transportation system, guys, it's bad. Very, very bad. Very bad. We are doing quite badly in terms of transportation system. If you go to the village, 5 o'clock in the evening, transport is done. There's no transport to anywhere. So everybody should be around where they stay. If you are far from home, you're going to struggle to get back home because there's no transport after that time if you're in the villages, unless you phone or call someone with a car to come and fetch you. At night, forget it. There's nothing at night happening. The biggest problem that we have as a third world country is the fact that most of our areas, most of our residential areas, take this for granted. We do not have economy that functions at night. Even in urban areas, we do not have economies that functions at night. Don't tell me about safety and crime at night, because the same thing can actually happen during the day and there's nothing you can do about it. So it has nothing to do with daytime or nighttime. We do not have the economy at night because there's no transportation at night or in the evening. So once you do not have transportation system in any form of settlement, you must just know from that point going forward that there's no economy in this place, and there will never be economy in that place, because transport system, it's the only thing that puts and holds the economy together. So once there is no transportation system, forget about economy. So the one and the only space where we could actually go in and innovate, create jobs, and build our economies, including our GDP, it's creating the transportation system during the night to be similar to during the day. So go and check what Kuala Lumpur is doing in Malaysia. In Kuala Lumpur, the economy doesn't sleep. You wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you go outside, you find a taxi, it takes you to town, you find shops open, you buy whatever you're buying. 3:30 in the morning, you back, then you sleep if you want to sleep, you know. The unemployment rate is below 0% because they've got transportation system that does not sleep. You can't expect to have jobs in a country where the economy goes to sleep. If the economy goes to sleep, everything will sleep. You can't expect jobs from that. You will only have jobs during the day, jobs that works during the day. But people don't sleep the entire 24 hours. There's people who sleep for 4 hours. There's people, by nature. Think about it. You sleep at 11 o'clock at night. At 5, you're up. That's about 4 to 5 hours in average of sleep. Human beings don't sleep that long. 4, 5, you done, you up. Then what do you do? You know? So let's go and look into the villages. There's so many villages in this country. Go to those villages, establish a transportation system that works at night. You will see what I'm talking about. You will thank me later. People will start selling in those taxis at night. Shops will start to open 24/7. People will be employed to work shifts, day shifts and night shifts. You know, jobs have been created. That's how this thing is going to be done. But if you're going to sit here and sleep at 7, wake up at 7 the next morning, there's nothing that is going to happen. There's nothing that we're going to do about it. And the numbers will keep increasing until we start experiencing the so-called, when people start eating each other, cannibalism. We start experiencing cannibalism. I see you, I see meat, take out the knife, and then it's a dog eat the dog situation. I'm gonna run after you until I cut this part of your biceps, put it on my braai stand, fry it nicely, then chow. And I'm sorted. I don't need anything else after that, you know. Yeah, that's the problem that we're heading towards. So, before I close, remember, I want you guys to come with me on my journey of the smart skipping project that I'm running. So today I'm just going to tell you about what happened in Botswana. I promised from the previous episode that I'm going to tell you what happened in Botswana. So we got to Botswana. I'm representing South Africa. It was me and the other entrepreneur, the two of us. We were representing South Africa. Oh, three of us. We were representing South Africa. And then we got there. There was this big hall at they have this in Botswana, they have this innovation center. And then there's this hall where we found about, I think, more than 150 people. They invited them to come and be part of this event. And then part of the event is for entrepreneurs to pitch their ideas and businesses. And that was the day we were supposed to be pitching. Then we went there, we rehearsed, and then we do all of these things. And then I was in my suit, I rehearsed, and then everyone was backstage and rehearsing. And then we had our presentation handed over to the guy who's operating the system for the live pros to flash our presentation and then our pitch as we're pitching. Then they put that mic on you, they mic you, and then you have that mic, you know that mic, and then you talk with your hands, and then you have your time in front of you, timing you, you're looking at the time, and then all of this situation, it's scary, and you become nervous, and all of that. There's 150. I'm lucky that I'm used to standing in front of a lot of people, and I can speak very well, so I didn't have that much of a problem. But guess what? All my slides just went blank. The first slide was blank, so the most important content of my pitch was on the part where the slides went blank. The slides were just, I only had the headings and the picture if I had a picture, so it was just the picture and the heading. But most of the gist of my pitch were the part where my slides went blank. I don't know what happened. I think God and my gods and my angels didn't want me to win, because that was the finals. All other countries were presenting, were pitching, and it was the finals. They were going to announce winners, we win cash money and so on, and sponsors and stuff like that. And all my slides went blank. I did my pitch off by heart from my head, but the audience saw nothing. You know, they saw nothing at all. Like there was nothing on the slide. They were white. I was talking alone. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll continue this story in the next episode. Come with me. Then there's more that I'm going to share with my project Smart Skip Bean, and then you will see how much I've put work into this thing to materialize and work. And the book that I wanted to recommend today is the one that I mentioned when I started Think Like a Billionaire from Donald Trump. Check out that book, and don't forget to subscribe. There'll be a pop-up here. Click on that pop-up and subscribe to this channel. And I will see you next week. Next week.